What's up, Internet? You're tuned in to episode 124 of the PotsCast. I'm your host, Peter Bessie, joined as always by my very good friend, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello.
So, Steve, before we jumped live here, I looked something up that I thought would be a funny bit, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it ended up a little funnier than I thought it might. So I was like, it's episode 124. Like, that's such a boring number, like 125 feels like that's like milestone adjacent, it's like that feels like a big number. And I was like, 124, very, very lame. I was like, which Pokemon is number 124? Can I be like, this is the Onyx episode or whatever? And I looked it up, and it's Jinx, which is not the Pokemon you want to associate yourself with, I'll tell you that much. So I'm glad that the only controversial Pokemon is the one that was I just shot from the hip, and you know what? They don't always play out, but this is pretty funny, I guess. So this is
Jinx,
not
Mr. Mime. Like, I was searching forever for Jinx and Mr. Mime on Pokemon Go.
I like Mr. Mime. He's creepy, but he doesn't make me uncomfortable,
Don't they have to recolor Jinx as well at some point?
You have to what?
They recolored the character.
Yeah, they recolored it after the episode that they're featured in aired in the States, and everyone was like, whoa,
Yeah.
no, that is not cool. Yeah, so this is not the Jinx episode. Welcome to the PotsCast, LootPots.com's weekly video game podcast where Steve and I get together and talk about what we're playing, what's going on in the news. We answer questions from you fine folks. It's going to be a good one. We're on week 3 or 4 or whatever the fuck it is now of just news bangers. We got some games to talk about that we played that were fun. We've got news about Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, a game Steve and I are both very nostalgic for, getting ported to some current consoles. We got some sales figures from Nintendo for 2021. And we got the announcement of Nintendo's own, play for Roblox. Or something, but we got a lot. We got a lot of good stuff this week, and I'm excited to jump into it. So before we do that, let me just quickly tell you where you can find us all around the web. We are, of course, the PotsCast. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We post every Monday morning, 9 a.m. London time, which is 4 a.m. here on the East Coast. So whenever you wake up, the show's already in your inbox. Go check it out. You can get us on YouTube. Go give us a like, a subscribe, share the channel with a friend. You know how to do the YouTube stuff at this point. And of course, if you want to get some more content from us, head over to twitch.tv/LootPots, where every week Steve and I are there hanging out, streaming some video games for your amusement. This past week, we did a little Super Mario Party with our pals Chewy Plays and Sierra Plus Ultra. It was a great time. We'll talk more about that in a bit. And of course, you can also go head over to patreon.com/LootPots, where for just $1, you'll be able to get access to After Dark, our extra Patreon exclusive show where Steve and I keep the mics rolling and we talk about what's going on in our lives, stuff that we're interested in that doesn't necessarily fit within the context of the main show. This week, we had a great episode. Again, we talked about my band's album release party, my experience getting my second vaccine. We talked a little bit about the government and billionaires, and it gets back to some happy stuff after that. Don't worry. So it was a good one.
What did we end with? I can't even remember. We literally just recorded it. We ended with Cheetos.
We did. We ended with Cheetos and yellow number 5. Yeah.
Yeah, my 21 Cheeto serving.
So yeah, you're gonna want to go check that out. I think it's well worth $1. It's the easiest way to support the show and get a little bit of extra content from us every week. So go check it out. We really appreciate your support. All right, so let's jump into what we're playing. I've got a lot on my list.
Extensive list. Let's get through some of yours because it's extensive.
And I think a lot of them we can get through kind of quickly.
There's a couple I really want to push on and get some thoughts on.
Yeah,
so one in particular.
We'll dig in on the ones you want, and we can jump around with the other ones a little bit. So I am chipping away at the same couple games lately. Right now, I've been dividing my time between Party Hard, New Pokemon Snap, and Disco Elysium. Party Hard, like, I'm just replaying, so that's kind of just been like a TV game at the end of the night. I'm most of the way through the run.
And I can't replace this game. I thought it was After Party, but it's not. That's the other one.
After Party is the game from the team behind Oxenfree.
Which is what I thought Party Hard was. What's Party Hard?
So Party Hard is it's a Devolver Digital published game. It's like a top-down pixel art kind of vibe. And the whole thing is you play a serial killer, and each board is a party, and you have to kill everybody at the party. And
it sounds a little bit like Hotline Miami then.
Kind of, but it's more stealth oriented. Like, it's not like a run and gun, and like nobody fights back really. Like, you can get killed, but it's like anytime that you get caught, right? So okay, the way you're supposed to do it is covertly kill people, and there's a lot of ways you can do that. Like, if somebody's like outside in a spot by themselves, like, you can just stab them and like hide their body or leave it out or whatever, and like as long as nobody sees you next to the body, they can't connect you to it. Then there's also some other things you can do to like break up crowds. Like, if you're at a party and there's a punch bowl, like, you can poison the punch and kill a couple people that way. There's like different environmental things that you can do. Like, there's like one where it's like outside and like you can like chop down a tree and it can fall on people. There's like certain ones where there's like a horse outside, and if you
it sounds like a 2D Hitman.
Kind of. Yeah, it's definitely, I would say, more akin to Hitman, where it's very goofy and silly, and it's got like a good sense of humor, even though
and
it's
are there,
this
like,
very
challenges
morbid.
To beat? Like, is it like if you do it with the tree rather than...
You get points, and there's like high scores because it's got that arcadey vibe to it. So like there's like a combo, right? Like, one of the items that you can get is like a smoke bomb, and if you like do that and just go stab a bunch of people real quick, like, you'll get a combo multiplier and get a higher score, and it's like you're incentivized to play in ways that are more creative. And then like if somebody sees you do it, they'll call the cops, and then the cops start chasing you, and you have to like maneuver through the house and like get away from them quick enough that they like don't see you, and then they're like, fuck it, and they just leave and give up. And like
oh yeah, they must have left.
Yeah. And like certain clubs have like bouncers, so like if they see you trying to go to an area you're not supposed to be in, they'll beat you up and you lose. If you kill a bunch of people, like if there's a crowd of people and you kill one person and they see you, they'll be like, get him, and they beat the shit out of you and kill you. So it's like you gotta be creative. And it's a game
that.
I really enjoyed on PC when it came out in like 2017 or whatever. I don't even remember how I got it. Like, it was like on a whim, and I was just like, I really love this game. So when I saw it was on sale on Switch a couple months ago, I picked it up and just been chipping away at it again. And it's a fun game. I really recommend it if that kind of thing sounds like it's up your alley. It's
seriously, Pete. When are you playing Hitman?
I'm gonna get it. I've decided I'm gonna get it. Don't worry. I literally have what is it? What's the VG codes or whatever site that you use?
CD keys.
CD keys. I have CD keys open.
VG code sounds like a knockoff.
It does. I have CD keys open, and every day I check it now to see like, where is it at? Because it's at 35 right now. And if I needed a game to play, I would get it at 35. But considering I'm working my way through these games and Mass Effect is out on Friday this week, I'm like, if I buy Hitman right now at $35, I'm going to sit on it. Whereas if I wait, I bet you by the time I'm done with Mass Effect, or if I need like a palate cleanser, it'll probably be a little bit lower, and I can get it for an even better deal.
Where are you starting, Hitman 3?
Yeah, I'm going to just pick up Hitman 3, and then I think I'll buy the DLC pack to get 1 and 2. And
it's actually cheaper just to buy the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then I might do that and then play them in order, but I don't know. I'll feel it out. Because I kind of want to play them in order, but I want to play them in the Hitman 3 engine.
The Hitman 3 engine is phenomenal.
So I think that might be what I do. But then I've also been chipping away at new Pokemon Snap. That one I kind of like let take a back seat this week because Mass Effect is coming so quickly, and I needed to get through the end of Disco Elysium because I want to finish that before, at least my first run, before I start up Mass Effect.
And you just can't be juggling 2 RPGs at the same time.
Yeah, I don't think that that'll be smart, and I know that I have such a nostalgia and an affection for Mass Effect and what it does that I think I'm going to really want to like put everything else down and focus on that a little bit. So my plan is kind of to wrap up Disco this week and then let Snap become my secondary game while Mass Effect is the main event right now. So with Disco, I'm actually like done with it almost. Like I am 4 days in of 10, but you're able to solve it more quickly if you are a good detective and if you like play your cards right. And apparently I've been doing a bang up job because I'm 4 days in and I've already like lined up I've gotten to the mission that is like, this is the point of no return to move into the end game. So
Okay.
I paused at that point and I went and I started clearing up a couple side quests that I wanted to wrap before I finish things up. So I think what I'm going to do is probably spend 1 or 2 more in-game days just closing out the side quests that I haven't finished that I know I want to do. Because there's a few that I have no interest in completing because to finish them you have to do something that feels out of character for my character. So I've just decided
okay, but you might for the next guarantee.
Yes, yeah. Like there's this one mission that to get the information that I would need to get from this character, I need to cooperate with this corporation that feels shady and I don't like, so I don't want to side with them. But also I have to like be mean to a character who's been really, really kind to me. So I don't want to do that, you know, like that's not what my guy would do. And like my character has such high empathy that I'm like, that just doesn't feel right. Like that isn't what he would do, you know? So
the Joja Corporation, isn't it? It's that whole, do you go to the Joja Mart or do you do the community center in Stardew Valley?
It's a little deeper than that because the union, which, you know me, I'm a lefty. I would always side with a workers union.
Well, I'm just going to bust that union wide open.
The head of the union is kind of a scumbag. So it's like, neither side is really great. So I've elected to, I'm not playing sides. I'm just trying to help people. So any opportunity I have to help
centralist, I say.
And it's funny, the game accused me of that at one point.
Typical Biden.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you're not taking enough hard stances, and I was like, the hard stances are too extreme. Like, I don't want to, and I'm not saying like let's play both. No, it's just like both sides are bad. But yeah, I've gotten chummy with people in the union, but the head is kind of slimy. So I'm like, I don't want to help you out because you're kind of... I believe that he has the union's interests at heart, but he's also definitely like...
He's in it for himself as well.
Yeah. And like there's some stuff he's doing that will screw over people that aren't in the union. And I'm like, well, I don't want to screw people that don't align themselves with you. Like, that's not cool. I'm glad you're looking out for your people, but the other people are also people. So... I'm trying to kind of just navigate that. But yeah, so I'm thinking I probably have like another night or so of like worth of doing side quests, and then I'm gonna push forward and try to wrap it up. So we'll see what happens. But
how are you liking it so far?
I love it. It is definitely. I know we've had like the debate of like, how do you consider something game of the year? Like if it came out on other platforms, like where does that?
This I think you can because it's the final cut.
Exactly. And I was gonna say,
I'm gonna let you have it.
if we're qualifying it by those categories, it is probably my number one game of the year contender right now. If I had,
are you kind of Mass Effect? There's like a remaster. Is that going in there as well? It's tough, isn't it?
We'll see. You know, I am inclined to say that the Mass Effect Legendary Edition applies for the same reason because there's significant changes to Mass Effect 1. And it's kind of like a standard. It's kind of like the Uncharted collection, where it's like this
That
is
does not count. Uncharted Collection does never ever count.
You don't think it does? See, I would
way.
say I could understand counting it because there are like changes to the way the game plays, and
It's like counting Persona 5 Royal. Didn't change enough in my eyes to make it a new Game of the Year contender.
that's true, and
why it wasn't included at
and
Game
I argued
Awards.
that it didn't count last year, but I put it on my list, but I didn't put it higher on my list. You know what I mean? Like
Maybe the list needs to be games that came out
that we
in
played.
2021 that we played, that we enjoyed.
I think that's fair. I know that it's an evolving process for sure, but I'm coming around to that idea more and more. Because if the game's new on a platform and you play it there for the first time, like, it's new to you, it's new to that community, like, I don't know. Either way, it is one of the best games I've played this year. I'm really enjoying it. If you've heard me talk about it over the last couple weeks and it sounds like it's your vibe, if you like classic RPGs that are really about stats and pen and paper type roles, I really don't know that there's a game that does it better. I really don't. It's so deep, and you have a lot of control over your character and how you interact with people, and your actions have consequences, and like that's the shit that gets me out of bed for video games. Like that's the stuff that really resonates with me. So yeah,
you've got to play the Divinity games after this. You really
I know.
Do.
I think I'd really like them. I really do.
You would.
We should stream those together, maybe.
Oh, definitely. Especially the first one. We can just talk. We can just go to the market and have the man just telling us about cheese all day long.
That sounds great. I love cheese.
He's trying to sell us a wheel of the good stuff. That's what he keeps screaming.
That sounds great. I'm in. So then, aside from the gaming, like the stuff I was actually playing, I had a few pieces of like games-related media to shout out that I know you're interested in talking about. So I finished Press Reset. I had 2 chapters left, I think, when we had last spoke about it. The last chapter is really, really good. It's really good. Jason gets like a little more editorial with it. He kind of like takes a stand and makes a case about how game development could be handled differently and kind of presents.
Now, I'm curious. Did you read the final version, or is this the?
I have the unedited version.
Okay, because I know from listening to Triple Click that there are 2 versions of this book that exist.
Yeah.
And the version you might have is probably a little less positive than the version that is going on shelves. So Jason has said that the book he sees now as the latest vision is a positive story, and a story of positivity and how things can change in the industry and how things are going to change. Whereas, because he was saying, Kirk, I think you read an early concept or an early vision of what the book was going to be. Maybe a little less optimistic. So I'm curious as to how that plays out if you read the.
I need to reread the. I guess I need to reread the book. That's really interesting. That's cool. Because I do think that ultimately it's a positive story, but it goes to some really negative places. But I don't feel like it comes off as like bleak or like doom and gloom. So maybe the version I have is. Like, maybe Kirk read an even earlier cut than what I read.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Because they sent it to me, like, a few months before printing. So, like, and it says on it, this is not the final version. Make sure you check the final version if you're going to quote it in your reviews. Like, it's very clear that this is not the end cut. But it's pretty close, I think. I don't know.
Most likely. I know he said he did most of the writing last February.
I caught one typo in the whole thing. So I feel like this is a pretty
pretty close to the final.
Yeah. And it was a super easy typo to miss. So yeah, it's a great book. We talked all about it last week, so go listen to our main topic. I'll have a proper review out tomorrow when you're listening to this, or if you're listening to this on Monday. If you're listening to this after Monday, it's already available. YouTube.com/LootPots. Go check it out.
Can't wait to read this week. I'm gonna be picking it up. It's being delivered to my Kindle,
I'm
and
super.
I'll be reading the hell out of this.
I'm really excited for you to read it so we can talk about it. But also, now that I'm done with it, I can start Ask Awada so we can talk about that. So I'm really excited that we can, kind of do some back and forth here. But yeah, I wanted to shout it out again because it is out this week. You can go pick it up as of tomorrow, May 11th. I really enjoyed the book. I think it's good and it's worth reading. And
Do you think it was better than Blood, Sweat, and Pixels?
I think they are both so different. It's hard to compare. Like,
yeah, once each individual chapters, this is a single narrative that goes through.
And like I talked about last week, like this one threads them a little bit more, which I guess you could argue is like maybe shows more. I don't know, like that requires more skill or something like that. But like they're just different. Like the stories in the first book are less connected.
Go and listen to Triple Click this week. I think you'll really enjoy it. Jason goes into detail about it, about how the first book was intentional, that he wanted to have these as little snapshots. And it was so funny that he said, everyone told me what their favorite chapter was in that first book, which was the human story of Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted to do more of in this follow-up book, which was take these human stories and expand upon them, which is what this ultimately became. And he wanted it to be like a single narrative of this character shows up here, and then, like you said last week, this character follows you all the way through the book, and you kind of really
like
get to
Warren
see how
Spector
they are.
gets name dropped in like every chapter, which is
and
cool.
And the story of how this book almost never existed because his contact at HarperCollins quit, and he got passed from editor to editor to editor. He had 5 or 6 editors, and then he called his agent and was like, this isn't working. They're going to drop the book. They don't like what I've sent them. Can you help? And within like a week, his agent found a new publisher, set up the meet with Grand Central Publishing, and that's why it's now published with Grand Central Publishing and not HarperCollins.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that. I really have to listen to that. Yeah, I highly recommend the book, and I think if you haven't read Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, we've talked about it a lot. We've recommended it a lot. So, I mean, there's a chance you're just not going to take the recommendation, I guess. But if you're interested in this one from hearing me talk about it, I highly recommend it and Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. Personally, I think I would probably read Blood, Sweat, and Pixels first because I think that there are moments in this book that build on knowledge that you learn in Blood, Sweat, and Pixels.
Interesting.
And it's not required reading by any means. Jason contextualizes them as needed so that if you haven't read that book, you can absolutely get what you're supposed to get out of this one. But like reading about some of the studios in the first book and like the struggles they went through to ship games or not ship games or whatever, and then reading the human side of that and the developers on the ground that it affected and how those things spun out, I think it makes the narrative a little bit richer. So I would recommend reading both of them, but reading Blood, Sweat, and Pixels first if you haven't. It's also always on sale. So like for my money,
I checked, it was like $2.99 this week on Amazon. It was crazy,
which is insane. For my money, pick them both up and dive into them both at the same time. I think that they're eminently easy to read too. Like they're not super long. The chapters are very digestible, and it's very like relaxing. It's easy to read. Like if you've read Jason's work and you enjoy Jason's journalism, you know that he's a very good writer and good at writing it in a way that is accessible. And I think it's an easy read for anybody. And I think a must read if you want to really know more about the industry. And I think especially if you do what we do, if you're a content creator or whatever, I know for me, the more I learn about how games are made, the less patience I have for people that don't and talk about it. So I think if you are the kind of person who has a platform and shows up and talks about video games every week, you kind of owe it to your audience and to the creators behind the work that you like to do your due diligence and understand what they go through a little bit more so that you can speak from a place of authority. Or at least more.
I 100% agree with that. Like, don't just drink the marketing Kool-Aid and think that everything is going swell and everything as it seems.
Or believe bullshit you read on message boards, or get caught up in like hate trains on Twitter and all that stuff. And the thing is, I don't really think our audiences are those kinds of people. I think we've done a pretty good job here of cultivating people that don't operate that way. But I also think that you need to be the change that you want to see in the world. So when you see people you know or who are in your sphere acting that way, if you've read the books and done the research, you can point them in the right direction and correct that behavior when you see it. And I think that that's something that like we as a community do the creatives behind the work, right? Of like, if you're informed, try to inform other people and try to dissuade some of that negativity and that shittiness that comes along with this space when it really shouldn't. Then the last thing on my list was, at your suggestion, I did start watching Mythic Quest.
Oh my God, yes.
I checked out the pilot last week, and I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I like the cast a lot. It's definitely like a strong group of characters. I know a few of the actors from either, obviously Ashley Birch is in it, and I've talked about how she's like my favorite voice actress. Haven't ever seen her act in something since her like YouTube channel. She's
great though, right?
Yeah, she's great. I really liked her character. The chemistry she has with the other tester, it's like very cute. And obviously Rob McEllery is from Always Sunny, and there's Dave Hornsby, who is like one of the creative leads on that show, and he plays cricket on Always Sunny, so like I'm familiar with some of the players in it. And I thought it was cute. I thought it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be when they announced it. And when you told me how much you liked it, I was like, okay, it's probably actually good. And I dug it.
It's fantastic.
I really dug it.
Really fantastic. It gets better and better. Like the pilot sets it up, and you're kind of like not sure if it's going to be, you know, like, is this just going to be typical video game fodder? Like, it's not actually anything like it. But I think because they've got like voice actors from the industry and people who like Ubisoft are helping out with all of the like animations and things that you see in between, there are actually people from the industry that are able to help and let them know what it actually is like.
I think something that that helped for me was, I remember seeing the marketing material and thinking like, okay, like, is this gonna be kind of like an Office thing where like Rob McEllery's character is like an asshole egomaniac, and like, am I gonna be able
But
to...
he is.
And like he definitely is, yeah. But like,
Lion.
I think that the first episode does a good job of like also humanizing him in a way of like,
he gets very, very much like humanized throughout that show, and it gets to the point where you do get more of a connection with him.
And that, I think that can be good or bad. As I've expressed, like, I don't love how much The Office tries to humanize Michael because he's an asshole. So like, we'll see how I feel about that. But I
think he's kind of just innocent though. Like, Iron's not that much of an asshole. Like, he takes credit, and he wants like credit, and he wants that like, this is my game, this is my thing, I'm the creative director. Like that ego, this is me, I created this, no one else really assisted.
Yeah.
And like, you see that sometimes, like, he'll be like, oh, this was my idea, I did this, and it's like, yeah, with the help of this team.
Yeah, right.
Like...
and like, I feel like I can see a character growing out of, to a point of like, I'll like him more, and like, that's cool. And like, I don't need to like everybody, but like, having a shred of humanity helps. You know, like when there's that moment where like him and the first episode is like about him and the lead designer having this conflict.
Poppy.
Like Poppy, yeah, having a conflict this whole episode. And she ends up coming back and sees him there in the middle of the night, like struggling to get this thing done because he really wants it to be better, and like he can't, and he needs her, and like he has this moment of recognizing like how he's diminishing her, and he's like, I can't believe you feel that way, like I can't do this without you, like I might be the creative or whatever, but like it all stays up here without us, you know? Mm-hmm. And like that was something where I was like, okay, like that felt like the real person underneath for a minute versus like the...
Yeah, and then the asshole like shield comes back up
the next
like,
day
moments later.
but that to me shows like a depth of character that I'm like, all right, like, yeah, like, let's see where this goes. And I like all the other characters enough to be like, I can have one mega maniacal asshole, you know, like, So I'm interested in it. I'm interested to see where it keeps going. And I know I just saw news about like the next season and everything, and it seems like it's popping
Came
off.
out Friday. Season 2 started Friday. I watched the first episode and I was very, very happy with how that episode ended.
Yeah, so I'm here for the ride, I guess. So yeah, thanks for the rec. Okay, so for you, I want to start with Far Cry 5, which you've been playing on Xbox with the benefit of that FPS boost tech. How's it looking?
Yeah, so this came out as part of their big. We didn't really touch on it, but last week they dropped 74 new games into the FPS boost thing. Far Cry 5 was one of them, which I already had. So I booted it up. And I guess like you don't really notice the change, but the first time I booted it up, it didn't boot with FPS boost because I already had the game installed and it was in that backwards compatibility mode. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this still feels like, it did before. I don't notice any difference. I opened up the menu and it didn't say FPS boost, so I went into the settings, I put it on. You open it back up, 60 frames a second just transforms anything for me.
It really
Like,
does.
it feels so much more fluid. Like, it's just incredible that Microsoft can just add this after the fact. Hundreds of games now. I think it's like 94 games have FPS boost. They plan on adding it to many, many more. You can play Hollow Knight in 120 frames a second, and the developer had to do nothing.
I'm so excited. They announced Mass Effect is going to be 120 on Xbox and 60 on PS5, and I'm like, fucking A. Oh my god, I can't wait to play this game at 120 FPS. It's going to be the first game I actually try to play in 120.
I don't notice the difference. I really don't. I'm interested to see if you do, but for me, 60 is the limit. I can't notice any more than 60.
It's funny though, because I remember a time where I was like, the difference between 60 and 30, it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you used to feel that way too. And then you get it and you're like, what? I don't know. I feel like it's like when you see 4K for the first time versus when the first time you have a 4K TV in your house and you're using it all the time, and then you're like, oh, I get it now.
Same with HDR. Like, until I had a decent HDR TV, it was like, this looks okay.
You're like, how did I play things without this before? It's insane. Yeah. So was that just kind of like to kick the tires? Like, do you think you'll keep playing, or did you just want to see what it looked like?
So I've completed the first region. I've taken down the first. Well, I'm about to take down the first guy.
Okay. So you
can't remember his name, but the one that calls everyone sinners all the time. Yeah, one of the sons. It's like, I don't think I will continue playing. I was really excited for Far Cry 6 to come out this May. It's been indefinitely delayed. We have no idea when it is going to come out at this point, but I kind of want to hold my Far Cry play for that.
Yeah.
But McCall has been playing this. I haven't played a Far Cry game before.
Oh, man.
Got massively into this one.
It's funny because this is probably my least favorite of the three.
Of Far Cry 3, 4, and 5, this is my least favorite of those as well. Far Cry 4 is my favorite. I really do enjoy.
3 is my favorite story. 4 is my favorite on a systems level.
I miss the radio towers. I miss the hunting to craft pouches for your weapons and stuff. It feels like the hunting.
I miss the really busted helicopters.
Oh, the buzzer thing, yeah, that you would fly around. There's a lot of stuff from that I miss. I don't miss the weird Shangri-La like trips that used to go on where there was like those red animals that you would follow. They were fucking weird.
Yeah. I don't know.
I didn't really enjoy those.
Those were fine. Like, I don't miss them, I'd say, but like I definitely miss like the exotic animals too. Like that is something, because like you still get attacked by some big animals in 5 or whatever, but like
some bears.
Yeah, but like I love those moments where you're like, I'm sneaking up on this thing and I'm gonna go attack these guys, and then all of a sudden a fucking tiger attacks you, or like a honey badger bites your fucking ankles.
Oh, the fucking honey badgers, my god, they're just like, why are they so difficult to kill? It's the turkeys in Far Cry 5 that just take a phenomenal amount of bullets to kill. It's ridiculous.
You don't want to fuck with a badger, frankly. Honey badgers don't give a fuck. We've all seen that video. They're insane. They're goddamn insane. They don't care. They have no sense of self-preservation. They'll fucking attack your ass.
I might try Far Cry 4 because I did really like that with AJ Gale. and the like really camp Indian dude that you're taking down. He was really fun. He wore the pink suit. Can't remember the character's name,
Fuck.
but he was good fun.
Something with an M.
You won't remember.
It's something with an M, but yeah, it's like one of my favorite elements of 4. I think it's 4 anyway. Is the DJ Robbie, right?
Yeah, he runs Radio Free Karat.
Yeah. I fucking love that character, and that was a thing I really missed in Far Cry 5 as well, because like you are in America and you're in this like siloed place, so like there's no radio, there's none of like, and I feel like the radio characters in 3 and 4 add so much to the world, you know?
That was the whole thing of like you going around and getting the radio tower so you could listen to the radio when you were in that area, and it also unlocked the map. And they just like lost that from Far Cry 5. You had that one radio tower at the beginning of the game. It was like the character makes a like a quip of, "Oh, I hope I haven't got to keep doing this," and it's just like, no, this is the only radio tower in the area, and you're like, oh well, that's kind of one of the sells of the older games for me, was finding these and solving the puzzles to get to the top. I do really love the prepper stashes though, and all those puzzles that you get in Far Cry 5. They're good fun to get the perk points, and those and the outposts are probably my 2 favorite aspects of the game.
I like the companions too. I thought.
Yeah, I forgot that wasn't in the older games.
Yeah, that's a good addition.
I used to have the dog go around with me all the time.
Yeah, the dog, and then there's like a bear. I
Cheeseburger the bear, and there's Peaches the cougar.
A cougar, yeah, it was like a mountain lion. Yeah, I used to bring that one around with me because they're stealthy, but they can do a shitload of damage. And I was like, yes, my fucking dude, Peaches.
Yeah, that's who Macaulay takes.
Yeah, that part was fun. And it would be cool how you could like have 2 later, so you have like one on the ground. You could bring like the air support or whatever. Or, like there's like
bring Nick Rye with you.
Yeah. So there's a lot of cool things in 5. It's just it was my least favorite story, I think.
Is that because it's too close to home for you?
I don't know. Like, I think that is part of it. Is that like I think of Far Cry as being in like a tropical locale, you know, like I like the idea of it being like on an island or like being like in a jungle, and like because those are things that are like not familiar to me, you know, and I think that like kind of makes it feel more like an adventure, more exciting or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think it was less the locale, because I got into the locale eventually. I think it was more that I just didn't, I don't know, like maybe the first 2 games aren't realistic, but it was hard. It was harder for me to suspend my disbelief that like this could happen. You know, that like, yeah, right, there's this town that could just be taken off the grid and the government would have no idea and the National Guard wouldn't come. There's no cops, and like, you know, it's
well, you were going to take them down. Like that's the beginning of the game as you're going.
Right.
Like nobody followed up on that.
Yeah.
When nobody checked
like,
in. It's
that's
like,
the thing.
Fuck?
I went to show up and then I disappear and nothing happens. Like that makes no sense.
Spoiler for like a 5-year-old game at this point.
Yeah.
It is mentioned on the radio that the Americans are busy at war with, I think it's China. And like that's what it is. And then the end of the game is China drops the nuke.
Yeah.
And like that's the end of the game. Which is kind of stupid as well. But those games are stupid. So I can kind of accept that.
And you're right. I think the thing for me is like this game felt like they jumped the shark. Cause like Far Cry 3, right, like has things that are stupid, but like the climax of that game is like, do you murder your friends and stay here forever, or do you go back to like that's serious? Like that's a serious moment, and it feels serious, right? Like the you're like holding your girlfriend's head in your hands, and it's like, do you snap her neck or not? Like that feels a lot more like dire, and I don't know. You get what I'm saying?
There's actual like repercussions rather than there's no real decision to make in this game at the end either. It just is what it is.
Yeah, it just happens. So I don't know. We're talking a lot about this old game, so let's move on. You also had The Tourist, which let's talk about quickly because we got to move into the rest of the show here.
Yeah, so I was like last week's After Dark, I was kind of on that voxel binge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to play a game that was voxels, just to see what
Yeah.
what we can achieve, Pete, when we make our game.
Get some inspiration.
Yeah, and I picked up The Tourist on Game Pass. It plays at 120 frames a second in 4K. It is fucking gorgeous.
That's awesome.
I genuinely cannot believe how gorgeous this game is. And it's just a real chill thing to play at the end of the day. You're a tourist on holiday on an island. You go to multiple islands. You have to solve puzzles. You have to do tasks for people. Like there's one where someone wants a smoothie, but in order to get the smoothie, you have to find the fruit that's on the island to take to the person to do the smoothie. The people at the party, like they need to you need to boost their party level, so you have to turn the music up, put the lights on, put the foam on. There's like a load of stuff you have to do, and it's just good fun. It's on Game Pass. It's also on Switch. If anyone's just looking for a little chill thing to play, that's absolutely gorgeous. Like the lighting in this game is insane. Then I'd say definitely check out The Tourist. It's Tourist with a Y instead of an I. But I'm having a good time with it.
It really caught me, its style. Like when they first showed it off, I was very interested in it, and I don't remember what it was that kept me from it. Like I think another game was out at the time or something, and I never really got around to it. But yeah, that you're kind of piquing my interest in it again. Is it on Game Pass?
It's on Game Pass. That's the reason I downloaded it. I was looking for something.
I'll have to give it a go.
Yeah, I would say check it out if you're looking for something just small to tide you over till Mass Effect arrives.
Cool. Then we also, like we said at the top, we played Super Mario Party this week with Chewy and Sierra. I don't want to talk about it too much just because we have a lot of show to get into, but it was a lot of fun. First of all, we had a great time. Thanks to both of them for joining us. You can go check out the VOD. I just wanted to say that if you were wondering, right, because I know a lot of people, it came late. A lot of people aren't playing the game anymore or whatever. I just wanted to give us the opportunity to say that it was a great experience. I was surprised by how good the online was. There was
really good.
One mini game where I feel like we had a significant lag and everybody was like, whoa, but that was it. Out of
and it was only for a slight blip at the beginning, and then after that it sort of corrected itself.
It kind of rubber banded and we were good. Yeah. And it was that's one mistake in a almost 2-hour play session. Not bad at all. So if you saw that and thought about going back to it, but were on the fence or hadn't given it a download yet or whatever, it gets our seal of approval, I'd say. So go check it out.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's worth waiting for it to go on sale because I do still think there's not enough content in there.
I'm assuming you already have it with that suggestion. Yeah, all of our original, conversational points about Super Mario Party and how it's a little content light stand. So if you don't want to go spend $60 on it, I don't blame you. But if you do want to play Mario Party online, it's a good experience. It's not the best Mario Party, but it's a good Mario Party, and you can play it online, and that's a new thing. So,
and I just want to say how you set online up is a little bit obtuse at the beginning.
Yes.
Start a single player game. Go as if you're playing a Mario Party normal board, and then it will let you pick online mode, and then from there you invite friends using the system level feature,
and then it kicks you out, and then
yeah, and then it boots up into a separate mode. It's really fucking weird, but once you're in, you're in,
and it works well once you're in.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into the news. First up, like I said, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance has gotten announced for Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation, and then was delayed for Switch at the very last minute, which is a bummer. The game is due out on Friday. Now we don't know when it'll be coming to Switch, but we do know that it has no updated graphics and no online multiplayer, so it is very much a straight port of the original, and that is really cool, but is also kind of a bummer.
It's a real crying shame for me because I was so looking forward to streaming this with you and playing through co-op, and now realize I can only play this like couch co-op. Still great, still a phenomenal collection of games, and I hope they port the sequels to this. But I think for $30 it's a bit of an ask for me, especially when I still own the copy on original Xbox and PS2. If I wanted to play this couch co-op, I could just get that out if I wanted to. Considering there's no updated graphics, there's no real pull for me.
I don't feel like the price point is a problem in my mind. I think $30 is a reasonable amount to ask for the game on its face.
I don't when you compare it to stuff like the Crash collection or the Spyro collection or BioShock collection. All of those games come in at around the $30 to $50 price tag.
Yeah, but
you can buy like the original BioShock piecemeal or the Metroid games piecemeal. They're like $15 each, and they're charging double this.
Yeah, but I don't think it's fair to compare those things one for one because like Black Isle is smaller. You know,
they're owned by Interplay, so they're pretty big.
That's true, but like Interplay doesn't necessarily have as much money as like Activision. You know?
Or 2K, fair enough.
Yeah, and that's kind of like where I'm coming down on it. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that they're like the little guy, but they're littler, and like
they are small. Their stock's 6 cents a piece.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess my question is like, what do you think is a fair price for this game if you're not gonna like update graphics or whatever? Like $20?
20. I would have paid 20. Would have been like an instant like, yeah, no problem. I would have been a bit annoyed and a bit gutted that there wasn't any online multiplayer, but I can understand that. If they'd have added online multiplayer, that $30 price point I think would have been fair because there is some like, network stuff, servers they're running in the background.
I think that's the problem though, right? Is like I think so for me, I agree with you in terms of like, yeah, I'd rather this game at 20, but I think it doesn't feel bad to me at 30 because $10 is not a huge difference in my mind. I have expendable income, so basic privilege.
I get that, but it's like that. It's that difference between $60 and $70 again. It goes from being like an impulse purchase for me to, I've got to weigh up the choice of do I want to get this or do I want to get Pokemon Snap or
And I totally get and respect that. Like I'm not even disagreeing with that because I'm not rushing out and buying the game, right? I might at some point. I did really love this game. I wouldn't mind replaying it. But I think when you get to the idea of like adding multiplayer and stuff or updating the graphics, like that takes development costs and resources that I think would balloon the cost up. And if it was like, oh, it has online multiplayer, but it's $60 now.
They'd have done Baldur's Gate 1, Dark Alliance 1 and the sequel. Can't remember the name of it.
I think it's just Dark Alliance 2.
Then I'd have said $60 for the 2 games with online multiplayer or, maybe some enhanced graphics or whatever. I'd have bought it.
Yeah. And I agree with you, but I think less people probably would. They probably figure, $30, maybe it's a little bit more, but that's probably the best price point in terms of like investment versus return. I'm hoping that if it's popular, maybe they add multiplayer.
Me too, but I'm not holding out hope. I'm still waiting. Do you remember the review I did for Carcassonne back in the day? Must have been like 2+ years ago now.
Yeah.
And they promised me, the developer promised me that they were, because I asked them, multiplayer's coming. 2 years on, it's still not there. So I've given up waiting for it.
But yeah, I'm bummed because I really did want to stream this with you. But part of me still wants to get it.
We'll do it. When I come to America. Couch co-op time. There we go.
That would be great. We could play through the whole thing. We'll do it like Let's Plays.
And I'd be like, sorry, Sarah, I know you just got married, but we're busy playing Baldur's Gate.
Play Baldur's Gate. We have a closing window here. That's fine. We'll send Sarah Macaulay off for the day and we'll just beat Dark Alliance. Real quick, just for shits and giggles. How long to beat Baldur?
Do it in a day. It's about 7 hours, I think.
Is it?
I'm sure it is.
It says around 12 hours. Oh, wait, this is Game Rant. Where's how long to beat? Here we go.
You could still do it though.
12 and a half hours for the main story.
That's a day. We'll get up at 9 a.m. We'll just,
Steve,
straight away.
What if we do a 12-hour stream where we just beat the whole game in one sitting?
And we do it for
charity.
Yeah.
Like Extra Life.
That's why I was trying to think of Extra Life.
Yeah.
I could do that.
We could do it. That's a day,
Yeah.
but we could do it.
We'll get some Cheetos in.
We start at like noon and play till midnight. Maybe we take like a lunch break in the middle of the day.
I think so, yeah. Or some bathroom breaks at some point. It's gonna need to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean that I think you just get up and break when you need to, right? And the other person can just open up the inventory and riff. But yeah, we should make this happen. We're gonna make this happen. Whenever one of us visits the other's country. Okay. So let's jump into the Nintendo. I'm sorry. This monster's coming up on me. Jesus. Nintendo. We've got some figures from the first quarter of 2021, and
no, this is the fiscal year end.
Oh, that always throws me off every single time. Thank you. So it's the end of the way that fiscal years end is they always end in like Q1 of the year.
Actually, it makes no sense.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. But anyway, so this is the end of the 2021 figures, and they they look insane. These numbers are fucking ridiculous, and I want to say that to preface them, because I think sometimes if you don't follow the numbers or you're not like aware of the overall context, they can kind of feel meaningless. Steve gave some great context here for them. So they had record profits, the most that they've made at $6 billion. Holy shit. Second best year for revenue at $16.6 billion. And just to clarify, if that doesn't make sense to you, right? Profit is what you've taken home after operating costs. So that $6 billion is just pure money made, money in the bank for Nintendo, whereas the other $10 billion is what it costs to run the company. Or, 10 and change, 10.6, which is insane. Like, that's insane. That the second best year for revenue is one of the years where they had the least software to release and promote.
Well, you can see why when you get to the Switch software, what sold.
Yep. So on the hardware side of things, Switch is up to 84.59 million units sold, which is, again,
I think within the next year, they're going to be the way.
Yeah. And that's nuts. Like, we talked about that, last year? We were like, oh, like, what could it
Will it ever do it?
Will it? Could it? And like, we both said yes. We agreed. But, like, I didn't think it would happen this soon.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, like, you think about it, we're 4 years into the life cycle now. That means it sold what the Wii sold total in half the time?
Yep.
That's insane.
You've also got to contextualize it against the fact that the Wii U struggled to sell 14 million units. It sold under 14 million units.
It sold worse than the Dreamcast. And then we just rose from those fucking ashes. Like, let's fucking go, gang. Let's go. We're riding this to the moon, baby. They must be happy about that. So then to the software side of things, like Steve said, they sold 587.1 million units. That's a lot of games. A lot of games sold. Over 500 million games sold. Wild. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came in at number 1 at 35.4 million copies. I don't get how there are human beings on Earth that don't own a copy of this game already, but here we are.
I mean, that sells to date. So if they've sold 35.4 million to date of that piece of software.
Yes, right.
And that's over the course of 4 years they've been selling that game?
Yeah, I mean, it came out, 3 months after the console?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
then you've got Animal Crossing New Horizons, which has sold 32.6 million copies in a year.
That's wild. That is wild. What's the attach rate on that? There's 84.59 million units. Yeah. It's almost half. It's almost 50% of the people that own a Switch own Animal Crossing. That's wild. And then Ring Fit came in at 10 million, which is awesome to see. Like, it's still trucking along. Still trucking along there.
Yeah, I put Ring Fit in there because it was interesting. The other ones all sold, the heavy hitters like Smash, Mario. They're in the 20 millions, but I didn't expect Ring Fit to be that far up there.
It is one of the better ones. Like that, at 10 million, that means it's in the top 15, if not the top 10. Pretty good.
Yeah, it's the top ones. And then the final point is Nintendo's projecting a decline in profit and revenue for fiscal year 2022, which in my eyes means we ain't getting a new console this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that gives me pause. We've been very bullish about the idea of a Switch Pro coming, and if they don't, the only thing I could see is if they think they'll have a dip because of some of the stuff that we talked about, right? Where if you are going to do a Switch Pro, there's a lot of costs associated with getting that up, doing marketing for it, putting it out. And we talked about the report from Bloomberg about how it was going to be a premium model and it was going to be aimed at premium users, and that there was only going to be
have many to sell because of the chip shortage.
And if memory serves, they said that it would only be like 1 to 2 or 3 million, which is a very small number. So that could be it, where you think maybe there's a lot of upfront costs of the parts and getting like a pipeline developed, marketing it, creating all those marketing materials, shipping, getting it in hands, acquainting sellers with the marketing materials and all that stuff. And if you can only get 1 to 3 million units out the gate, that sunk cost for higher profits the following year might be the gamble that they're making. But
I could see that if they just predicted a decline in profit, but they're also predicting a decline in revenue.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they're looking to sell any of these. Whether they announce it and it comes out next year, how they did with the original Switch. It was announced in November time, and then we got it coming out in March. Yeah. Maybe they do the same thing.
There is also, it's worth pointing out, Daniel Ahmed, who we reference pretty regularly. He's
Nico Partners.
Yeah, he's a very well-known analyst. He tweeted about it and said that the pandemic boost is still in effect this quarter. And that's something, like it says here, right? Here's a breakdown of quarterly software sale. There were 54.77 million units of software sold during the quarter ending March 31st, 2021, up from 45.58 million units in the same period last year. There have been 7 games sold for every console sold.
Mad.
So that's not normal. And I wonder if that's why they're predicting part of the decline, is that even with new hardware, a bunch of people just bought a Switch. Are they going to then go buy a Switch Pro? Probably not. A bunch of people who are outside of their regular demographic bought a Switch and bought Animal Crossing. Are those same people going to buy it next year? Are all of those people who are buying 7 games alongside a console, or a higher percentage of games per year than they normally buy because they're stuck at home, are they going to do that once they're fully vaccinated and able to go to clubs or spend time with their friends and family normally? Mm-hmm. Probably not. And I wonder if that's part of the conversation.
Quite possibly. I mean, I also wonder if the Xbox and PlayStation 5 also factors into it, if they see that people have bought some of those and are anticipating buying those.
That this is also, you got to think, right? PlayStation 5 is in really high demand. There aren't any. You got to imagine that there will be by holiday, and that it'll be the best-selling console this holiday rather than the Switch, which has maintained that dominance the last couple years. Also, you have to imagine that this is the first year that those new consoles will have killer apps. Like Ratchet & Clank is coming out, presumably Halo,
I don't think Halo's coming.
Yeah, grain of salt. But with those in mind, right? If these new shiny new consoles have heavy hitters coming out and Nintendo doesn't or is lagging behind with some of those releases or whatever, you could see all those things kind of like death by a million cuts kind of chipping away. So let's keep rolling. We also got the announcement of PlayStation making a new partnership with Discord. Just right after we had gotten through that conversation about them potentially selling and deciding they wanted to maintain independence. I thought this was interesting. A lot of people on the web, or at least on Twitter, I saw kind of making a point I found to be really tone deaf and kind of spoke to this idea that they seemed like fanboys in my mind. Where I saw people being like, oh, can't wait to see all the Sony fanboys backtrack now that Sony's the one making this deal instead of Microsoft. And a partnership isn't the same thing as being acquired. So
No, not at all.
That's
And
why
this
it's
is,
different.
when you think Xbox has already got a level of integration with Discord anyway, I know it's a very small integration that shows what game you're playing on Discord.
Yeah.
But that's not to say they couldn't expand that to have cross-platform parties in the same way that Sony's looking to do. But this is good, I think. I don't know about you, but whenever I play a game with friends, I open Discord on my phone and I use that instead of playing a party through my console.
Exactly, yeah. Which is, I think this is interesting. It allows them to do something unique with PlayStation, but not being limited to doing so. So, like, I think that's a good thing. There was a statement from Jim Ryan over at PlayStation. He's the president and CEO, if you don't know. I don't want to read the whole thing. Most of it is marketing speak, but he said, together, our teams are already hard at work at connecting Discord with your social and gaming experience on PlayStation Network. Our goal is to bring the Discord and PlayStation experiences closer together on console and mobile starting early next year, allowing friends, groups, and communities to hang out, have fun, and communicate more easily while playing games together. That sounds cool.
Does sound cool.
I think this will ultimately be a good thing for users on PlayStation and as well as Discord, to continue developing the ubiquity of the brand, like Discord surged in popularity this year, and like it being a thing that like you as a mainstream gamer who owns a PlayStation will see that logo every time you open up your PlayStation or whatever. Like, that's really good for Discord from a business perspective, while maintaining independence, which is what they said they wanted to do. So, yeah, this is cool. We'll see where it goes. So, this one I want to just touch on real quickly. We got a few more confirmed players for E3 2021. Square Enix, Gearbox, and Sega have all been confirmed. There's a couple other ones like Bandai Namco, Verizon, Devious Eye Entertainment, Turtle Beach.
Verizon?
Yeah. They're on here twice.
Plugged in 5G then, aren't they?
I mean, they own a studio, it looks like here. Verizon Freedom Games.
What?
Yeah. I don't know about that. But, yeah, so we've got some more big players who've decided to show up alongside, the people we already knew were coming. Nintendo, Xbox, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Capcom, and WB. Konami backed out. But other than that, it's shaping up to have a decent lineup. We'll see what it ends up looking like. I'm interested. I'm very cautiously interested to see what E3 2021 is going to look like. But we'll be here to talk.
I mean, I like E3. I like the whole brouhaha of these big events. I know just watching trailers is pointless, but I find it fun, and it's something that everyone gets to talk about for a week.
Definitely. So before we move into our last story, which is going to make up our main topic here, I did have an email that I wanted to get to. This one comes from one of our regular listeners, Mr. Zaid Ida, over on the email. So if you want to write into me at pete@lootpots.com, just like he did, you can. And you can also, of course, get us in a number of other ways. We've got the PotsCast channel over on the Discord where you can write in, or you can get us on social, whatever you want to do. Come be a part of the show. We'd love to hear from you. So Zay wrote in and said, "Hey, Pete and Steve, hope all is going well for you guys. By the time you're reading this, it'll probably be less than a week until the release of Mass Effect Legendary Edition." You goddamn right it is. I am personally super excited for it, and it'll probably take priority over any other game in my backlog. You're damn right it should. Just a quick question for you both. What do you think of the decision from BioWare to not remake the games completely in Unreal Engine 4? I'm hoping it doesn't hinder the experience of the games, but I'm a little skeptical. Then again, I have no experience with the original trilogy, only the critically acclaimed Mass Effect Andromeda. That's a joke. He put it in all caps. He knows it's not critically acclaimed. Don't worry, everybody. Don't attack him. And one last question for Pete. Since you played the original trilogy, which game are you most looking forward to revisiting? Stay safe out there, and I'm glad to hear that you're both vaccinated. Warm regards, the Phantom Thieves' #1 hype man, Zaid. I like that he adopted that moniker, because that's what I call him every time he comes on a piece of content.
Especially when it is just selling Persona. He's Atlas's hype man.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny because there's a kid in Persona who's like their like cheerleader and like runs the website for them or whatever, and I just clicked for me. I'm like, Zayd is that kid. Like Zayd is that kid in real life.
Funny.
Not that character's kind of a fuckboy, so I'm not saying that you're like him, but like in real life, you're the real life like #1 Phantom Thieves stan of like, no, the Phantom Thieves are true heroes. I'm here to back them up. So thanks for writing in, Zayd. Love to get to talk about Mass Effect. So, I'm not concerned about the Unreal Engine 4 of it all because the games were originally made in Unreal Engine 3. They kept them in that engine, and just went and like did, some cleaning up specifically on Mass Effect 1. And from what I've heard from journalists who've gotten hands-on with it, like the quality of life changes that were made are basically everything I've ever asked for or wanted from that game. Because Mass Effect 1 is the only one that I feel like on a gameplay level doesn't hold up. So I don't think that there's a reason to be concerned. I don't think it should impact the experience. I think if anything, it's going to make it so that the experience is more true to what it was like to play it originally, because the games, like the things that work, are unchanged, and that is a good thing in my mind. In terms of which am I most looking forward to revisiting, I'm torn. I'm very interested in revisiting the original, A, because it's the one that has the most changes, but B, it's also the one that I played the longest ago, and I remember liking the story, but like feeling like when I got to 2, that 1 had felt like it made 1 seem more flat when I played 2, because 2 was so dynamic and so much better. Even though I loved 1. So I'm interested to see how much the changes to 1 impact my experience and my relationship to it and how I feel about it when I talk about it as an experience. Because Mass Effect 1 is the one that I, like when I recommend the series, I'm like, you really need to start at 1 if you want the full experience, but there are things about that game that are not good. So like, it's a very much an experience I recommend with caveats. Whereas like 2 and 3, I recommend without reservation. I mean, the ending of Mass Effect 3 is controversial, but I don't think it should be controversial. It's not great, but it's
no spoilers. No, I don't want to know because I'm planning on playing these games.
I'm not going to talk about. Yeah, that's all I'll say. But in terms of like which game is my favorite of the 3, it's 2. So I am most excited to play that one like stem to stern again because I love the story of 2 the most. And I think it has the best group of companions. My favorite companions are all in 2. Except Liara. Liara is great, and she's not in that one. But, so those 2 for different reasons. And also, I guess I'm just saying I'm excited to play all of them. I'm excited to play 3 again, with the new ending, because I never played the new ending.
They changed the ending? I didn't know that.
They didn't change it as much as they added scenes that add context and that give you more closure, which I think made people feel better about it.
Is that why it was controversial?
It's hard for me to talk about why it's controversial without spoiling it for you, so we'll leave it at
no
that.
Problem. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think these games would have existed if or this remastered collection would have existed if they had to remake them all in Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
there's just no way that someone's going to spend that much time and money to remake these games when there's already an existing engine that probably looks great anyway. You know, they can still add those embellishments of 4K assets and lighting
120
effects and
FPS.
120 FPS and all those enhancements, and also make the tweaks to quality of life improvements that you've mentioned. So I'm looking forward to playing them. I don't know if it'll be this week, might be next week. But I'm looking forward to playing them. I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about them as well, and whether it's worth getting the collection or whether I should just play the backwards compatible versions. But I'm going to probably get the collection.
I think it's going to be. I'm pretty confident saying that it's worth getting the collection, even if you have the originals, based on specifically what I read. Like Kat Bailey, who's over at IGN now, formerly of US Gamer, she did some reporting on it early on, and the way that she talked about it made it seem like very worth the price of admission, I would say. So I really hope you pick it up on Friday. I would love to be able to talk to you about it next week. If you don't, you don't. That's okay. Try not to pressure you. I want you to get there on your own. But I'm like low-key thinking about taking the day off from work so I can just fucking sit and play Mass Effect 1 for a couple hours. And because the opening to that game is pretty long. And it's not like a tutorial. It's just like there's a lot of stuff that happens before your character.
Is it as long as Cyberpunk's prologue? Because fuck me, that went on forever.
It's hard for me to say because when I played the game the first time, it took me a few months to get through the beginning. So,
okay, but was it 7 hours? Because that's how long I was playing.
No,
like
it's
that
definitely not that long. I think
my god!
I think it's more like 2 to 3 hours, and then you hit a
That's
point.
Fine.
Yeah, and then you hit a point, and it's not like you're not doing things during that time. It's just the game starts off on the Citadel, which is like the central hub of the galaxy. And you spend the first hour or two there meeting some of your first group of companions and kind of getting set up. And then the game hits a point where like you get your ship and it like lets you go and you're able to go explore the galaxy. So there's like a little bit of...
kind of sounds like the opening of the Outer Worlds.
Yeah, it's a lot like that where you're like, here's the place where you start. Now you're free. Go ahead. You get the systems now? Go.
I can live with that.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad at all. It's slow compared to the rest of the game, though. So, grain of salt. So for me, I think I wanna like play through that and then be able to like get
it done. Yeah.
And get to like the first big mission that night and be
is there no like skip past this? I've played Mass Effect before.
No, because it is story stuff.
Right.
This isn't really a spoiler. The setup is that like you, Commander Shepard, are the first human who's being considered for the Spectre program, which is basically like the Secret Service, like CIA, like whatever of the Council, which is the group of like each. The way that it works is there's all these species in the galaxy. And certain planets and the races that live there are like leaders on the council because they were like founding members. Humans only joined the council like fairly recently, so like we're kind of an upstart race, and everyone's like, "Oh, those humans, like they're real go-getters." So you get this opportunity to
wait till they find out the real scumbags, and then they won't want us around.
Well, a lot of them feel that way. And yeah, you're the first human who's invited to participate as part of this program. And the first 2 hours are you on the Citadel kind of going through some of the politics of like going and making the case for why you should get to be it. And some people are like, no, fuck them. And like, whatever. So it's like, there's like a lot of stuff that kind of like, it sets up the villain and it sets up, you know, oh, you meet this character who joins your crew and you meet this other character who joins your crew. And like, it's all good stuff. It's just a little bit more like running through a lot of hallways and taking elevators and stuff. And then later on, it's like, okay, I'm exploring the galaxy. Like I'm going and doing...
I'm outside.
Yeah, right. So it's like you get through the political stuff and then it's kind of like, let's go. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. All right, so let's jump into our main topic. There is an update, a lot of updates on the Epic Games v Apple case, and it's gotten weird. It's gone to some weird fucking places. Some of the quotes coming out from it, some of the lack of understanding of how video games work from some of the
Oh my God, yeah. Like Tim Sweeney having to identify all of the consoles. Yes, this is a PlayStation 5 because you know how they have to ask questions and get like the defendants to answer. It's like, can you identify what this is? Yes, that's a PlayStation 5. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, then. The funniest argument that Apple brought against Epic though was like they can't even run a store properly. Their top 20 games has 25 games in the list, and you go on the Epic Game Store and there's 25 on the list. It's so funny.
That is really funny. I think my favorite one was when someone asked, I think it was one of the lawyers asked Microsoft's representative about Xbox, and they're like, well, do you mean Xbox, the gaming console, or Xbox, the cloud suite of, and the person was just like, what? Like, what does that mean? Like,
Wow.
it's so funny.
I mean, Xbox branding is a mess though, right? It's like who knows what you're on about.
Yeah, it's like very much like if you're not like a fucking like real inside baseball dork, it's super hard to understand. Like I feel very clear on it, but like I read about this shit all the time and like inundate myself with it, you know? Like I can't imagine like being like a middle-aged parent who like doesn't care about video games and you're like the kid wants an Xbox and then you're like what the fuck? Like what the fuck does that? There's like 8 options. For all the things I'll say negatively about Apple, that's something that they have. You want an iPhone? Cool. Here.
We've got 2 sizes, pick.
Big or small. So yeah, there's a bunch of interesting headlines that kind of came out of this. One of the first ones was something that was apparently highly confidential and for attorneys' eyes only, and we see how well that worked out.
It was. This was not meant to be revealed to the public. It got unsealed by mistake by the court, and then Epic and Apple both requested it got resealed, and the judge said, well, it's already been unsealed, everyone's seen it anyway, so I don't see any point, and just left it stay online.
Which is insane.
And that's where it is now.
Yeah, so there is a bunch of information here, like from Epic, and like plans for Fortnite, and like just a bunch of interesting things. And the biggest takeaway was that it appears as if there were plans to include Samus from Metroid as a character in Fortnite the same way as Master Chief was included.
And was Kratos in there at some point?
I think Kratos is in there now. He might currently.
Yeah.
I think him and Aloy are both in it right now, right?
Oh, Aloy. So it's the PlayStation Go at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's.
But they wanted all 3 of them in there at once. They wanted Master Chief, Kratos, and Samus in there, and that was going to be like the big pool. And they would each be on there for the respective platforms, so that you would play on Xbox, you would play as Master Chief, you play on PlayStation, you play as Kratos. Play on Switch, you get to play Samus.
Which is, would have been really cool.
Well, it's Metroid, so it's never going to happen.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it will still happen, but I have a hard time understanding why Nintendo wouldn't want that. Like, it seems like a big opportunity for you to like put over one of your like IP that has brand recognition, but is, it's obviously not as popular. Some of the other...
Yeah, I can also understand that Microsoft had an upcoming Halo game. PlayStation had announced a God of War game. Nintendo might not want to advertise a game that's not coming out.
You think maybe
they don't know
it?
when it's coming. They could possibly be holding it, yeah. There's a bunch of interesting stuff in this document there.
I was going to say, the other characters on this list are wild. Like, Naruto... Katniss from Hunger Games, the Bride from Kill Bill, Snake Plissken from Escape from New York, who's also the character that Solid Snake is built on, fucking John McClane, and like
there's the whole basketball player thing, and they're going to be like an in-game basketball game with Zion and LeBron James.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And like they talk about how like the Travis Scott World Tour was the largest transmedia event ever. It put him on the top of the charts on like every major music provider. Like it's insane. It's
And then they were meant to then do that with like a bunch of others, Ariana Grande, Lady Gaga, but they
Yeah.
never happened.
Yeah, it's interesting. I imagine it'll probably happen again later.
The Marvel thing, how much money that made as well. Like it shows that like, collaboration made them the most money. It was the most lucrative
By a lot.
Yeah,
Not
by a long
surprising.
shot. And then second behind that, Star Wars. So it's like Disney made a little bit of cash out of Fortnite.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Which is cool. I mean, shit, like whatever. Like, you know, I know Fortnite's an easy target. It's the biggest game in the world. Everybody likes to talk shit, but these brands are smart to get in on the ground floor and be involved because it's a great way to ingratiate a new generation of kids into whatever the thing is that you make.
Absolutely. I mean, the judge did have some pause though this week. So there was like a whole thing about the case that Epic's bringing against Apple, if in terms of what Tim Sweeney keeps saying, is about friction, and they want to limit friction in terms of having your card details stored so you can buy V-Bucks on one platform and use them on another platform without having to use Apple's in-app thing. Really, it's about they don't want to give Apple 30% of the cut.
I'm sure it's
But
both.
the judge said, Apple has said there is an alternative though. You can go to Epic's website, you can buy it on there, and then they'll work within the app on our phone, and they'll work on your Xbox or your PlayStation or whatever. Tim Sweeney said, well, that adds friction. We want to limit the friction so it becomes an impulse purchase. The judge said, well, most of your customers and clients are children. Shouldn't it be a good thing when there's a little bit of friction so they don't just like buy all these V-Bucks and then impulsively purchase these things, which can rack up bills for their parents? And Tim Sweeney didn't really have a retort to come back to that, because that's actually a really good argument. It's like, yeah, these are kids playing these games and they shouldn't be able to just buy things willy-nilly.
Yeah, which is fair. I do take issue with that a little bit. Like, I definitely, I don't know. I think the argument about that kind of thing is complex, because I definitely think like when you get into like some of the, like in Jason's book, actually, there's a chapter about Mythic and everything, and they talk about how some of the mobile devs at the dawn of mobile and free to play with microtransactions and stuff, they were like hiring psychologists to find out ways to keep people addicted and da 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 da. That kind of stuff I definitely think should be illegal. But I do take issue with this idea that it's like somehow Tim Sweeney and Epic's responsibility to make sure that your kid doesn't spend a bunch of money on your phone. Like, A, why does your kid have a phone then? Or B, don't allow your child to have unrestricted, unsupervised access to your cell phone where your credit card is connected. Like, I think it's clear. I hope I don't have to qualify this, but if you're a new listener or whatever, like, I am not here to defend corporations. I am not here to defend billionaires, but like, I think personal responsibility has to come in at some point. Like, it shouldn't be on the people who make video games to like
I wholly
for how
agree
your
with
children
you.
spend your money.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, but it does completely negate Epic's argument of this is all about friction, when there probably should be some in there anyway. Even if you're, say, addicted, you're like an addict, and you're buying these things when you shouldn't be. There really should be some protections in place, especially when it comes to loot crates.
Yeah, and I guess that's fair, but like, I don't think it throws out Tim Sweeney's argument, because how is like, oh, like there's friction because rather than being able to do it through Apple Store, you have to go to Epic's. Like, that's not a good solution to that. Like, if we're agreeing that that's a problem, being that, oh, well, it's a little bit more inconvenient to buy from Apple and they take a cut, so that's somehow a solution. Like, no, it's not. Like, it isn't. That doesn't alleviate the problem. That doesn't make it better on people who are addicts. It just means that they could only spend the money on Apple's platform. So if you're a Fortnite player who's addicted...
Well, no, Apple let you spend the money on other platforms. The only platform that wouldn't let you spend the money that you bought on another platform was PlayStation.
So I'm sorry then. I guess I'm not understanding. I thought that the whole
So,
point
so
was
Tim
that.
Sweeney's argument is we don't want to give Apple 30%, and the only alternative Apple will let us have is you have to open a web browser, go to a website, and load up coins that way.
Right. That's my point though, right? Like, how does that doesn't add a step for anybody? It just, you know what I mean? Like it's that's not a solution to the problem. Apple just gets a cut. Like,
No, Apple won't get a cut if they open the web browser. They
no.
do if they do it in the game.
I'm with you now. I'm saying that if they do it in the game, like that, his whole argument is we want to remove friction, right? You're not, like, it's not anymore. It's literally just Apple getting the cut. Like, there is no difference, really, materially. So, like, the argument that, well, a big portion of your users are children, so shouldn't there be more friction? There isn't more friction, right? Like, so I guess to your point, maybe that does dissuade his argument because whatever, like it's just as streamlined. But I don't feel like the retort to that actually makes any sense either because I could still just go and immediately buy V-Bucks on the app. So what's the difference? If the whole point is, oh, kids shouldn't be able to spend the money, well, they can.
I mean, I agree with you, and I'm interested to see where this goes. I mean, I have a stake in the game. I make apps for a living, and if I don't have to give 30% to Apple, then great.
That would be great.
We'll see how it goes. I disagree with how Epic went about this in many, many ways.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have just broken the rules and breached their contract, which is what they did, which is why Apple kicked them off the store by adding in their own backdoor, essentially. They just flipped a switch server side and said, now you can buy with your own credit card rather than having to go through the App Store.
Yeah.
And that was a real shitty thing to do. And then the whole free Fortnite campaign just did not sit well with me. It's like, oh, look, a multi-million-dollar corporation fighting for freedom for their most popular game in the world.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
And you know, I made the point last time we talked about this of like, I can understand why people are positioning them as the good guy because if this works and every developer on the App Store gets a better percentage cut, then I mean, hell, like they did a good thing, a net positive thing, and just because they benefit from it doesn't mean that that's not true. But it does contextualize it, and that's important, right? Like it's not through altruism. They want to make more money, and if they can use making other people money as part of their PR blitz for that, well, hey, that's just good business, right? So I'm not sitting here painting them as nice guys, why Apple are villains, but I get why one might, especially if you stand to gain something from them winning the court case, which every developer on the App Store does. So this was interesting too. We also learned that Sony charges Epic for crossplay, and they are the only publisher to do that, which I thought was very interesting.
It's absolutely disgusting and disgraceful.
Yeah, and
that they do.
And I mean, it makes it interesting, right? Because you said the thing about how Epic shouldn't have done this and whatever, and it's like exactly the same thing they did to get crossplay on PlayStation, where they flipped the switch.
They really come across as bullies. It's like we know we have the most valuable game on the planet, and they think everyone's going to blink first. In Sony's case, they came to an arrangement where Sony gets a bit of cash for the crossplay. In Apple's case, they didn't expect Apple to kick off one of the most lucrative games and profit makers for Apple from the App Store, but Apple called their bluff and said, no, fuck you. You broke our rules, off you go.
And my thing is, I think you're right that they come off as bullies, but I also, I don't feel bad because, they're bullying
They're bullying Apple, yeah.
They're bullying Apple and PlayStation
into doing the right thing.
Yeah, into doing something that's pro-consumer or
at the moment, yeah. But what happens when they take this stance and they use their power and their might for something that's not great for the consumer?
And you're right. That is the concern, which is why I'm not going to sit here and be like rah rah Epic. But also, I would say when they do that, that's when we fucking tear them down. As long as they're doing things that are helping margins for developers or getting you a better deal as a consumer, if you're gonna bully, all right, yeah, fucking bully Apple then. Bully them down to 15%. Why not? Fuck them, right? Who cares? If we're gonna watch the billionaires eat each other, I can get behind that. And then we also got something interesting here where Microsoft's witness, who they called Lori Wright, claims that Microsoft never made profit from Xbox hardware. Can you contextualize this for me? What does that mean?
So the witness got called, and they were talking about like how iOS makes money and stuff, and how Microsoft makes money. And so the lawyer said, "Does the Xbox Store compete for transactions with the Apple App Store?" No, Wright said. "If you want to buy a game on iOS, wonderful. Comparatively, if you're buying for the PlayStation, you're buying games from Sony. And that's taken away from the odds you'll spend money on Xbox." The lawyer then pointed to Minecraft, which was acquired by Microsoft, as an example of Microsoft encouraging cross-platform. And just she could not understand that Microsoft was losing money on Xboxes and the sale of Xboxes, which is just mad. It's like they make no money, and she really wanted to understand how they were making money. And Apple was like basically saying, well, if you're not making money through hardware in the way that Apple does, then you're competing with Apple as a store, which is the only reason you're here backing up Epic, is because you want them to be on the store and making money.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
Like, Microsoft is very much firmly on Epic's side, because they feel a bit burnt about xCloud being kicked off of the App Store and not being allowed on the App Store.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense that Roblox has been brought up this week as well, because that allows you to download games within the game. Like, that's 100% what Roblox is.
Yeah, right.
And in this instance, Roblox was blocked from the App Store. They sent an email saying, "Oh, well, we'll only allow new games into the Roblox store by submitting it to Apple." Apple never replied to the email, so they were just allowed to carry on going as if they wanted to, just because of like an admin oversight.
That's funny. Wow, yeah, that's fascinating. It's so fascinating how many unrelated things are coming out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Love court cases like this. It's so interesting. Like, we never, like, I love getting to see these, like, internal documents and stuff. It's like, oh my God.
Oh, the internal documents are fascinating, yeah.
So
They
fascinating.
really are. There was a bunch of Apple stuff that came out as well from the Discovery on the other side about how they do the the review of the apps, because it was like, well, how did Epic get this through the App Store? If you review your apps and you actually do a good job at reviewing things, surely they shouldn't have been able to get it on the store. And there's like a whole series of criteria that they do it. They give each app a trustworthiness score based on like automated processes and people that have gone through to either reject it or allow it. It's absolutely fascinating how they do everything.
Yeah, and these are the things that, like, on our side of the fence, like, you can only ever speculate about. So when you get these drip feedings, it's like, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think this is the first time that Microsoft has confirmed they've never made a cent from Xbox hardware that's always been sold at a loss.
Yep.
And we've known that Sony's done that for years. And we know that that Nintendo always makes a profit. They never sell anything at a loss from their hardware.
Yep.
But yeah, it's the first time that Microsoft has confirmed that that's also the case for them. And we know how they make their money. And Lori Wright explained that to the judge. It's basically through software sales. And
Right.
in Microsoft's case, services.
Right. And then we also got a little bit of information here about more from the Microsoft side of things, that Epic apparently pushed Microsoft in 2020 to drop the gold requirement for free-to-play games. And they actually had an email between Phil and Tim that
I'm so annoyed that emails are like blocked out. I was going to like write Phil an email and say, "Do you want to come on the show?"
Right. Yeah, so it's just interesting. Like, you wonder, like, did that play into them wanting to get rid of gold? Like, you know, you start asking all those questions. And kind of the last thing that I thought was interesting was Apple trying to, like, use itch.io, like, against Epic, because it has, like, offensive games, sexualized games, all these things. And that really rubbed me the wrong way. This, like, platform that is like one of the easiest free bastions for like putting things out, and like Apple's trying to like demonize it.
Because specifically Epic Games host it as an app on their Epic Games launcher now. So you can store itch.io games through the Epic Games launcher.
Really?
And they
I didn't
only
know that.
did
That's
that.
interesting.
Yeah, that happened like 2 weeks ago, right before this case kicked off, and people
It's not
think they
great.
did it just to like bolster this, to say like, look, we're free and open as well. Look how cool we are. And then like they picked out a bunch of things they couldn't even talk about. Apparently, they were just too offensive and sexualized, that they were just unspeakable in the courtroom, that they couldn't possibly utter what they were. I did like itch.io's response on Twitter though. Did you see it?
No.
Guys, Apple's lawyers just called. They said we need to turn off all the games. Games are now illegal.
That's funny. Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more to come out of this one. We'll keep updating you as it develops, but certainly an interesting and ongoing story that it's got juice. It's definitely got juice. So I'm interested to see where it goes and what the ultimate fallout from it is. You know, like what is this going to mean for independent development? What is this going to mean for you know, the biggest players in the space? A couple of them anyway. So yeah, keep it tuned. We'll keep updating you as the updates come. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us here in another episode of the PotsCast. This is a long one, but a good one. I feel good about this one. So I hope you guys had a good time. Make sure you write in and let us know what you thought about any of the stories we talked about this week, any of the games we've been playing. If you want to share your thoughts, you can, of course, hit me up at pete@lootpots.com, just like Zay did in our MailPot segment. Thanks again. You can hit us up on the Discord. Come share your thoughts. Come talk to us. Let us know what you're thinking about these stories and or what you'd like to see us talk about next week. Of course, go over to the Twitch channel. This Thursday we'll be back with some more gaming. Don't know what we'll be playing, but we'll be there playing. So go check it out. You can get on the YouTube channel. Don't forget, tomorrow I'll have my review of Press Reset by Jason Schreier. Thanks again to Jason and to, you just said their name before. I want to say Grand
Central Publishing.
Grand Central Publishing. Thank you for giving me the advanced copy. I really appreciate it. Yeah, check it out. Show your support. You know where to go and do the internet stuff. We'll catch you next week for another episode of the PotsCast.